All right, let's just jump right in. This is the story of Caden Merritt. And honestly, it's a real head-scratcher. One minute, he's a nobody, the next, millions, and I mean millions, of people are glued to his videos. And there's nothing fancy about them, no special effects, no slick editing. It was all about what he was saying, and maybe even more importantly, how he was saying it. So who is this guy, and how did he just appear and capture everyone's attention?
So it all kicked off with this one video. Just 73 seconds, that's it. No music, no tricky camera work, just a guy looking straight at you and laying out a problem. And the way it spread, it wasn't like your typical viral video that explodes and then fades. No, this was different. It felt heavier, like it was gaining momentum, this unstoppable weight with every single share.
And boy, did it gain weight. We're talking 4.1 million views in a single day. Think about that. And the crazy part? This wasn't some algorithm pushing it down people's throats. This was organic, person to person, just sharing it because it hit them. Everyone was just wrestling with how simple and how maddeningly true it all was.
But here's the thing that's so fascinating. It wasn't just what he was saying about insulin prices. People got obsessed with how he said it. There's this one moment in the video, this tiny pause. It's only 0.6 seconds long, but it landed with this incredible punch. It was like he was deliberately giving everyone a beat to let the anger sink in before he just kept going.
And that quality, that unshakable certainty, it was almost unnerving. And it's what got an investigative journalist named Sara Okafor hooked. He wasn't stumbling over his words. He wasn't even thinking. It was like he was just reading off a script that was already perfectly written in his head. The words were just there, resolved. So Sara's editor throws this assignment at her with a just brutal deadline. 12 hours. That's it. The mission? Figure out who Caden Merritt is before someone else gets to define him for the world. You know how this works. The clock was ticking. The race was definitely on.
Okay, so before we get into the mystery of the man, you really have to grasp why his message was so powerful. Let's look at his housing video. He didn't just complain about how expensive houses are. He completely reframed the whole debate. He said, look, the issue isn't that our parents had cheaper housing, it's that they had available housing. And that one little shift in wording, well, as he explained it, that changes everything. And this, right here, is the core of his appeal. He wasn't just another guy pointing out problems. He actually explained specific, existing tools in the legislative toolbox that could fix them. He laid out this plan: link federal funding for transit to local zoning laws. Basically, if a city wants that federal cash, it has to allow more housing to be built near bus and train stops. Now, this idea wasn't brand new, not at all. But the way he explained it with such clarity, it suddenly felt totally revolutionary.
Now get this, because this is the part that really blows my mind. He was totally upfront about it. He said, yeah, this plan will probably make some of your homes worth a little less. You'd think that would be political suicide, right? But an estimated 380,000 homeowners, people who could literally lose money, shared the video anyway. They looked past their own bottom line and saw a bigger problem that just had to be fixed.
Okay, so back to Sara's investigation. She's got this message that's crystal clear. It's resonating with millions. But the messenger, Caden himself, he was a complete ghost. And the deeper she dug, the weirder and weirder the whole thing became. So she starts where anyone would, university records. And yeah, she finds one, a name, a graduation year, but it's like a shell. There are no thesis titles, no professors who remember him. He's not cited in any papers, nothing. His name is on the list, but there's zero proof he ever actually walked the halls. Okay, so she moves on to his job history. He's listed at some policy consulting firm. The website looks legit. It even has a couple of colleagues listed. But when Sara starts digging, poof! The firm has no history of doing any work, no contracts, no mentions, anywhere. The colleagues don't seem to exist. The whole company was just a ghost in the machine, a digital mirage.
This is where it gets really strange. Sara even gets technical. She analyzes the audio from his videos. See, normally when you record something, you do multiple takes, and you can see the tiny little cuts in the audio waveform where it's all stitched together. But with Caden's videos, nothing. The waveform was this one long, continuous line. It was perfect, impossibly perfect, like he nailed every single word in one flawless go. And that's when it clicked for Sara. This wasn't just a case of missing information. His lack of a past wasn't like a hole in the story. It felt deliberate. The emptiness, the absence, that was the story. It was a structural feature of whatever this guy was. So,
Just as Sara is hitting wall after digital wall, she gets this feeling. She realizes she's not the only one digging into this. There's someone else out there, someone with a lot more power and resources, and they're looking at the Caden Merritt phenomenon from a totally different angle.
She eventually uncovers who it is, a very secretive political data firm, Meridian Analytics. Now, these aren't your run-of-the-mill PR folks. These are the big guns. They specialize in audience modeling, basically figuring out what makes people tick on a massive scale. And it turns out they were tracking Caden's audience intensely. I mean, borderline obsessively.
So, you know the drill. Follow the money. And where does it lead? Straight to their client, Governor Daniel Reeves. You probably know the name, the guy everyone expected to be the party's nominee in the big upcoming primary. The safe bet, the establishment choice.
Okay, and this is where the story takes a hard left turn. Meridian runs the numbers, and what they find is just mind-blowing. There's a 71% overlap, 71%, between the people following Caden Merritt and the exact group of persuadable voters that Governor Reeves had to win to clinch the nomination. Without even knowing it, Caden was speaking directly to the people who would decide the entire election.
And what's the reaction inside the Reeves campaign? Not panic, not curiosity, just cold calculation. They didn't look at Caden Merritt and see a person, or a rival, or even a movement. They looked at him and saw an asset, a thing, a tool just sitting there, unclaimed, waiting for someone to pick it up.
But then Sara lays out the timeline, and the whole thing just falls apart. It makes zero sense. Meridian Analytics signed the contract with the Reeves campaign to start modeling this very specific group of voters a full 7 months before Caden Merritt even existed online, before his first video ever went live.
And that's when Sara lands on this just stunning, chilling conclusion. It completely flips her entire investigation on its head. Meridian didn't just find the audience that was gathering around Caden. They were building a model for an audience before that audience even had a reason to exist.
Which leaves us with this really unsettling question, right? Was Meridian Analytics just so unbelievably good at their job that they could predict the future? That they could see this movement coming? Or did they know Caden Merritt was on his way because somehow they were waiting for him? What happens when you have a message that's perfectly tailored, perfectly delivered, but the messenger seems to have been born yesterday?